My beloved child, there are moments in life when a person does not need another promise, but rather to be reminded of what has always been true. You are not forgotten, not replaced, and not overlooked in the unceasing flow of this world. While everything around you may change and fade, one thing remains unaltered. Your very being has been known since before it was formed. Before anyone ever spoke your name, there was one who knew your soul more deeply than you know yourself, and he has engraved you into eternity with an intention that cannot be erased. It is easy to think you must carve out a place for yourself to impress others in order to secure your position in this world. Yet your place was established in the quiet long before anyone knew your name. You are remembered not for your talents or achievements, but because there is one who called you mine when life was still a seed unbroken. He inscribed your name not on fragile paper, but into the substance of an eternal design. This was not a random choice, but a sacred appointment. Many may pass by without seeing you. Some may know you without understanding the weight of what you carry within. But heaven has never mistaken you. You are not defined by temporary failures or the shifting emotions of humanity. You are defined by what He has designed, with constancy, with kindness, and with unfailing love. Even if you have felt lost in the crowd, even if you have stood before the mirror and questioned your worth, the Creator has looked at you with the gaze of one who knows every beat of your heart. As it is written in Isaiah 49:1-6, "See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are ever before me." Nothing can diminish this truth, not time, not mistakes, not the bitter words of others. You may have felt overshadowed in the crowd, pushed to the margins of what seemed important. But in me you have never been second. In my mind you have never been a substitute. You are the center of a design prepared with precision. Nothing in you is excess. No part of your journey is out of step. Everything, even the moments you believed yourself invisible, is shaping the person I have seen clearly from the beginning. There is a consecration upon you, not to isolate, but to preserve. I do not keep you in the shadows to punish, but to prepare. I do not ignore the moments you feel forgotten, but in the very silence I am nurturing an identity that cannot be shaken. There have been times you doubted your worth, wondering if the quiet endurance you bore meant anything. But you did not know that in those very moments I was writing something that even angels would pause to listen to. My child, when I call you out of the darkness, it is not a sudden act of fleeting mercy. It is a summons from a realm beyond time, where every plan has been set in order, every detail aligned with a preordained moment. And this moment now is that appointed time. Not because you have proven yourself strong enough, nor because you have prayed longer than others, but because there is a chapter in my plan that only you carry the exact resonance to fulfill. Throughout your journey there have been stretches so still they felt suffocating, where you walked unnamed, carried burdens unrecognized. You may have thought it was abandonment, but no, it was deliberate concealment. I did not cover you because you were lacking. I covered you to protect the precious work being formed in the quiet. There are things that can only grow in the hidden place where the soul learns to discern between my voice and the noise of the world. And now, as that stillness has matured enough to become a firm foundation, I call you forth, not vaguely, not alongside hundreds of others, but by name. Your name is not only resounding in my presence, it is being released as a signal into this very moment. The spiritual atmosphere is responding. Gates are opening not because you have knocked long enough, but because you have arrived on time. Understand this, my timing never fails. If you are being called out now, then this is precisely the moment you were designed to be revealed. Everything you have walked through, from disappointments and wounds to those silent collapses on your knees, has become evidence that you were not only preserved, but also shaped to answer a call meant for no one else. Not one part of your journey has been wasted. Every seeming interruption, every weight that drained your hope is now being pieced together into a sacred tapestry in which you are the central thread. Do not let weariness deceive you into thinking this is the end. On the contrary, this is the very first moment when everything begins to align, no longer delayed by inner doubts. I am breaking through the fog that once clouded your view of yourself. Hesitation no longer has a place, for when I speak, time obeys. When I call, heaven itself moves to assist. That is why this call is not simply a comfort, it is a summons, weighty, purposeful, and consequential. You are not being called out to merely observe. You are being summoned to step into the position prepared for you, not by your own strength, but by the authority that comes from me. I do not need you to wait any longer to prove yourself. Your perseverance in the unseen season has proven far more than you realize. And now every seed of faithfulness sown in the silence is breaking forth not in darkness but in the light of fulfillment. I know you have feared you might never see this day. There were moments you thought, perhaps that is only for someone else. But my child, it is that very humility that marks you as ready. I do not seek the strong by the world's standard. I choose the tender-hearted whom I can fill. And you, yes, you are the vessel I have appointed to carry a portion of my divine plan that no one else can bear. Others may have gone before you, been mentioned more often, or been celebrated with applause, but what I have entrusted to you cannot be compared. My call is not measured by the gaze of the crowd. I choose you according to a heavenly timeline. And when that moment arrives, it resounds like thunder upon the holy mountain. None can silence it, and no force can stop it. For my word once spoken will not return void. Now as you hear these words, know this is not imagination. It is an awakening. And I need you to respond, not with hurried action, but with a willing heart. You do not need every answer. You do not need clarity for every step. You need only to say, I am here, and in that simple surrender, my power will move. I know there have been days when you tried to hide your confusion behind a strained smile, nights when you wondered if you were truly called or if you were just clinging to a fragile hope in a world so indifferent. But it was in those very moments when no one stood with you, when your soul was barely breathing, that I was there, not distant, not silent, but watching, remembering, and positioning. I have not marked you by what you displayed outwardly, but by the steadfastness you held on to, even when you had no more words left to pray. No one needs evidence to see that you are alive, but I need you to know that you are affirmed. Affirmed not by the words of others, nor by the position you hold, but by an unshakable reality, the reality of my kingdom, where every decree carries eternal weight. In that place, no decision is overturned by failure. No name is erased by wounds. Your name, my beloved, is not written temporarily on sand, but engraved deeply upon an unmovable rock where no storm can dislodge it and no stream can wash it away. I have heard your whispers when you told yourself you might not be good enough, strong enough, or pure enough to be worthy of a calling from above. Yet in that very moment I spoke louder within your soul, not to drown out your doubt, but to affirm an unbending truth. Your worth does not come from your deeds, but from the blood I shed. It is not because you are without fault, but because I have given you a position far above the prejudices of this world. My affirmation does not arrive in mere symbols, but in power. It is not temporary, but everlasting. This means that what once made you feel rejected, condemned, or overlooked now becomes the very foundation for your rising. Not because you have somehow become more deserving, but because I have placed an irrevocable seal upon your soul. That seal is not defined by the rejection of others, nor can it be erased by the harsh voices from dark places. People may see you through the lens of limitation. They may label you by what they perceive your past, your failures, your flaws. But I look beyond all of that. I look to the place where my light has touched you, where my grace has covered you, where your faithfulness in the night has become a resounding cry in the spiritual realm. That is why I do not wait for your recognition to give you my affirmation. I declare it before the world has a chance to speak. For the sacred is not born in the crowd, it is nurtured in the secret place. But the Lord says, you are mine. I have called you by your name. This is not a phrase written in the past. It is life resounding in the present, with every beat of your heart. Everything around you may change. Your emotions may rise and fall. But this truth does not change. It does not depend on how you feel, but is secured by my unchanging nature. And that is why you are still here, not merely to survive, but to step into what has been written, kept hidden, and is now ready to be revealed. You do not need to strive to prove yourself worthy of it. Affirmation is not a reward, it is the starting point. You do not move forward seeking recognition. You move from the position of already being recognized. This becomes the solid ground beneath your feet when you face the trials ahead. When the winds rise, when criticism grows loud, when doubt tries to creep into your thoughts, I want you to remember your identity is not swayed by circumstances, for it was never built upon circumstances. My child, because you are affirmed, you must live as one who carries something no one can take away. Not in arrogance, but in confidence. Not to obtain, but to fulfill. I have sealed you, and now you no longer walk as someone searching for a place to belong, but as one carrying out the very role you were born to fulfill. And as you walk this way, each step will become decisive, each choice will grow clearer, and each word you speak will carry weight. My child, what may seem like silence is never truly empty. The time you spend waiting is not an unnecessary pause in your spiritual journey, but an essential part of the blueprint I have written for your soul. There are treasures that can only be shaped in hiddenness. There are strengths that can only be born in seasons, when every door is closed, every voice falls quiet, and every hope appears to run dry. I have led you through those stretches of road not to weaken you, but to forge within you a quality that cannot be imitated, a quality reserved for those who are called chosen and set apart for purposes far deeper than surface. Recognition. You may have looked back on the years gone by and wondered why things did not unfold as you had hoped. You may have thought that if I had truly chosen you, every door should have opened. If you truly had worth, then those dreams should have already come to pass. But my child, you did not realize that the very delay was the covering that protected the precious work being formed within you. If everything had arrived earlier, your heart would not yet have been strong enough to carry it. If the promise had been given before your faith took root, that very promise would have become a burden instead of a blessing. Waiting is never a punishment when it comes from me. It is the environment where you and I meet in a deeper fellowship beyond what eyes can see. I have used stillness to test the authority within you, to see what keeps you standing when there is nothing left to hold on to. When logic fades, when emotions vanish, when reasons disappear, you have still continued. And it is that choice which heaven records not simply as one who keeps the faith, but as one who carries an obedience that cannot be replaced. Through all that time, I have never been distant. On the contrary, I have been working more actively than ever. Though your eyes could not see, my hands have been arranging every detail. I do not build in the noisy glare of the crowd, but in the sacred darkness where my intentions take shape without interference from human opinions. In those years when you thought you were standing still, I was going ahead of you, setting in place the intersections you would need. I removed paths that looked easy but would have harmed you. I moved away those whose hearts could not bear the dream you carry. At times, the long silence has made you question not only my promise but yourself. Yet, my child, I have never doubted you. When you doubted yourself, I remained steadfast in my decision. When you sank into disappointment, I still placed my hope in you. I do not look for perfect strength. I look for the choice, and you have chosen to continue. In tears, in silence, in seasons with no name, you have chosen to be faithful, and that choice holds more value than any public praise. Every seemingly ordinary day has been another movement in heaven's symphony. I have not missed a single moment. I have recorded even the sighs no one else heard. I have noticed every fragile thread of hope you still clung to in the dark. What you call monotonous repetition, I call holy training. For greatness is not birthed in sudden flashes, but in unseen endurance. And I have been watching not to condemn, but to confirm that you have been maturing in the right way. You are not late. What has not yet happened has not been canceled. Everything is still being prepared exactly as I have determined. But this time it will not only be what is given that is different, you will be different too. You are no longer the one who pleads out of fear of being forgotten. You are now the one who knows you have been kept for a purpose. Waiting has become your weapon. Stillness has become your strategy. And when I speak, what is within you will no longer resist that call. It will answer not with hesitation, but with certainty. That is why I do not rush. I love you far too much to place everything into your hands before you have the depth to hold it. I do not merely want to give you an opportunity, I want to entrust you with a mission. And to carry a mission requires formation. Formation does not come through ease. It is forged in the battles of the soul. It is birthed when you remain faithful, even when everything around you offers no guarantee of stability. And now that very faithfulness is becoming your launching ground. No one can fully count all I have done in that season of stillness. Yet you will begin to see each piece revealed in perfect sequence, not because you pushed for it, but because I ordained it. And when it happens, you will know that not a single second of waiting was wasted. Not a single tear was overlooked. Every whispered prayer has reached my throne. And now I, who know the deepest layers of your spirit, will begin to unfold each part at the precise time I have chosen. My child, not one step in your journey has been taken alone. Though your eyes may not have seen it, movements from heaven have been unfolding in parallel with every moment you persisted on earth. When you walked in faith through the barren desert, when you quietly trusted without seeing what lay ahead in the realm of the Spirit, I had already commanded my angels to begin their work. Not one of your prayers has fallen into a void. Not a single sigh from your lips has failed to create a resonance in the heavens. There were moments when you thought you were merely surviving the days. In truth, you were walking in step with a plan that was being carried out in silence. While you were learning to let go, the armies of heaven were learning to guard you. When you chose forgiveness over revenge, I decreed the preservation of your name from slander. When you stayed silent in humiliation, I moved to protect what was sacred from the scorn of men. Every moment you thought yourself abandoned, an angel was standing. Watch, not because you were weak, but because you carried something hell sought to silence. I have never allowed you to step through any door without thorough preparation. The people you have met, the places you have gone, the stories that seemed accidental, each was the result of a divine sequence I had set in motion. I went ahead of you, clearing paths. Your eyes had not yet seen breaking false connections, halting words that could have planted poison in your spirit. There were relationships that fell apart without reason you could grasp. There were plans delayed that you mistook for failure. But in truth, I intervened because you were not yet strong enough to discern the genuine from the counterfeit. I would not allow you to step into what you could not yet sustain. This is why the isolation you once resented was in reality an invisible shield. There were invitations, opportunities, and alliances that looked favorable on the surface, yet I did not allow them near you. For there are things that can derail you in a single instant. I know what could unsettle your footing. I know what could shift your heart away from its original purpose. And because you are precious, I have not let anything that only appears right divert you from what is truly sacred. There have been times when your heart ached over losing those you thought would be lifelong companions. You could not understand why people who once walked with you for a season suddenly turned away. But my child, not everyone is called to your entire journey. Some are appointed only for a time. They helped you learn the lessons you needed, and then I moved them aside to make room for those who carry the same vision. I do not build your future on the foundation of compromise. I will not allow shallow visions to pull you away from the territory appointed for you. And now, as I look back over all this time, I can see clearly every step I have led you through. There were places where I held you back, even when you resisted. There were doors I shut firmly, despite your pleading. But now you understand the things I withheld were to protect. The things I removed were to make space. And what you once thought was loss was in truth mercy put into action before you could harm yourself. My child, I have not only paved the way for you by bringing you to where you needed to be, but I have also cleansed your mind of illusions and purified your motives from selfish ambitions. My preparation was not only in your surroundings but in your heart. There were days when I placed you in the whirlwinds of contradiction to uproot what was impure. There were seasons when you felt suffocated by your own emotions because I was dismantling the faulty structures you had built to protect yourself. I broke them down not to harm you, but to rebuild. For what I am about to entrust to you cannot rest on a foundation that is easily shaken. Now, when you look back, you will begin to see the intersections. Pieces that once did not fit are now aligning perfectly. Encounters that seemed random are now filled with meaning. Delays that once frustrated you are now unfolding at just the right moment to open doors no one can shut. It is not because you waited long enough, but because I appointed the exact time. What I am clearing the way for is not merely a means, but the very stage for the unveiling of the mission you have been given. So let go of the regret for what is past. Do not measure your worth by what did not happen. Look at my preparation and know this. Everything is moving not according to your calculations, but according to my arrangement. And what I arrange, no one can undo. My child, you have never walked alone, even in the moments you felt utterly isolated, even in the hours when your soul seemed strangled by what you could not explain. My presence was there, never leaving for a single moment. Not just nearby, but right beside you, in every heavy breath, in every weary step through despair. What you thought were mere moments of survival I saw as the strong, steady heartbeats fighting to hold on to life. And because of that, I did not simply watch, I acted. I did not just stand present, I protected. I did not merely hear, I intervened. When the enemy sought to crush your hope, I raised a shield to block it. When dark thoughts crept into your mind, I whispered into your spirit. Words you did not know came from me. Small phrases that kept you from the edge. Hold on a little longer. Do not let go. I am still here. You thought it was your own inner voice, but it was truly my whisper resonating through the cracks in your soul, upholding the parts of you you could not hold yourself. In the season when you believed nothing was happening, heaven was in motion, aligning with every word I had spoken over you. My angels were not standing still. They had been sent ahead to remove from your path dangers you did not even know you escaped. They blocked traps disguised as opportunities. They extinguished fires fueled by envy and slander. And when words of accusation began to form in the mouths of those you thought were close, I pulled you away, not because you were unworthy, but because I would not allow your light to be tainted by compromise. My child, my protection does not always appear as a dramatic miracle. Sometimes it takes the form of failure, a plan collapsing at the last moment, a relationship ending without reason, a path of promise suddenly falling apart. Yet behind it all is my hand, a hand that never withdraws once it has reached out. You may not always recognize my actions, but that does not mean I am inactive. I have held you when you could not hold yourself. I have erased verdicts written in secret against you, and even when you doubted everything, even me, I have never doubted what I have placed within you. Now, as the new season begins to rise and the spiritual atmosphere shifts in response to the movement of my word, I need you to know this with certainty. This companionship did not just begin. It has been there since the very beginning, but only now is it being revealed. I have not merely walked alongside you as an observer. I am the one who has taken your hand and said, "Follow me." No more groping in the dark. No more wondering if you have taken the wrong turn. For my light is now illuminating every step. And though the road ahead is still lined with challenges, the certainty of my presence will be your unshakable strength. From this point on, you will begin to sense this more clearly, not through fleeting feelings, but through undeniable results. You will see doors open without your effort. You will receive invitations far beyond your reach. You will find yourself standing in places you once only dared to dream of, not because of strategy, but because my supernatural companionship has gone before you, paving the way and leading you forward. And each time this happens, remember, this is not the result of finally being noticed. This is the outworking of a companionship that has quietly existed all along and is now rising in open power. And when the next storm comes, because there will be new trials, I do not promise you will never feel tremors of fear, but I promise this: you will not tremble alone. I will be there as I have always been, never abandoning, never passive, never silent. For if you know you carry something sacred, the enemy knows it too, and he will do all he can to shake your heart. But he cannot break what I am guarding. He cannot suffocate what I have breathed life into. He cannot touch what I have sealed within my presence. And that is why you will stand, not by your strength, but by my presence in you. So when you sense the shift in the atmosphere, do not be unsettled. This is not something foreign. This is what has always been with you, now simply revealing itself more openly. Walk with gratitude, with steadiness, and with the awareness that the one who walked with you in the dark is now leading you into the light, not a light for admiration, but a light for mission. My child, the time has come for you to leave the place of hiding, not because I am rushing you into the spotlight, nor to answer the doubts of others, but because the time is fulfilled, and what I have placed within you can no longer remain concealed. Just as a seed cannot stay buried once spring arrives, your soul can no longer live in silence when my word is reverberating through the atmosphere. This is no longer the hour to stay hidden. This is the hour of declaration. Not a declaration to seek attention, not to flaunt something in order to soothe a once rejected ego, but a declaration with order, with heavenly confirmation that you have been prepared, refined, tested, and now are ready to step into the space that has been appointed for you since before time began. What once grew in silence, faith, faithfulness, obedience, will now speak not with words but with undeniable action. My child, you do not emerge from the hidden place as one barely surviving the wilderness. You step out carrying the authority of one who has endured, and not only endured but has been anointed in places no one deemed sacred. In the unnoticed spaces you learned how to hear me. In the absence of applause you learned to live without the crowd's validation. And it is for this reason that now, when I call you forth, you have no need to pretend to be strong, because you truly are strong. Not because you have never been wounded, but because you have allowed me to heal you in the deepest places of your soul. You once thought, who will listen? Who will recognize what I have done in you? And the answer is not everyone. But the ones who need to hear will hear. The ones who need to see will see. For this proclamation does not depend on you being prominent in the eyes of others. It depends on you being in alignment with the moment I have appointed. What I am calling forth in you does not require the approval of the masses. It requires obedience. And you have obeyed, even through tears, even in solitude, even in a waiting that seemed endless. Now all that has been hidden is beginning to step into the light, not as a performance, but as part of a plan written in perfect order. Every spiritual gift you thought you had lost during seasons of doubt is now being restored, not through display, but through undeniable reality. You will not have to prove yourself. My presence within you will do that. When you step into the space I have appointed, doors will open not by pressure, but by the very spiritual alignment you carry. And when that begins to happen, remember, this is not the pinnacle. This is the starting point. I have not brought you into the light to end a journey, but to begin a movement. What was once hidden was for protection, not imprisonment. And when I declare something, I also release the power to carry it. Do not fear being swallowed by expectation. For what I give does not come with exhaustion, it comes with anointing. And this anointing you do not need to borrow from anyone. You have received it directly from me, in places unseen through battles unknown. You do not need to shout to be heard. My word in you already carries its own volume, not the volume of noise, but the resonance of authority. When I call you forth, both circumstances and people will begin to shift to align with it, not because they understand, but because I have commanded it. And when I command, nothing, not even the obstacles that shaped your past, can stop the movement. Stand tall, my beloved, not in pride, but in the clear knowledge that you are no longer the overlooked one. You are the one carrying the light, ignited by me, and that light cannot be hidden for another season. The time for declaration has come. My child, the hardest part of this journey was never the lack or the wounds caused by others. The deepest pain came when you began to doubt your very identity. When dreams were buried under the dust of time, when you looked into the mirror and no longer saw the person you once knew, this was more than disorientation. It was a fracture at the deepest level. Yet even in the moments when your soul felt shattered, I preserved one thing that no one could destroy: the true identity I wrote into you from the beginning. No one can define you but me. No season of hardship, no false accusation, no painful memory has the power to rewrite what I have inscribed. You may have been labeled too weak, too slow, not enough, but those labels do not exist in the depths I have touched. For when I breathed life into you, I did not call you by your flaws, I called you by your destiny. I did not carve your name in the stone of your mistakes. I engraved it in the purpose I set before you. And that is why through all the upheavals you are still here, not as a worn-out survivor, but as one standing in the midst of awakening. The rising you are about to step into is not the result of human effort, but an activation from the hidden place where you were taught to stay silent, to withdraw, to keep yourself small just to survive. But I did not create you to shrink under pressure. I made you to rise through the fire. And this very fire, the one the enemy tried to use to burn away your faith, is now the fire I use to refine what is true. Not to harm you, but to burn away what does not belong to you. Not to expose you for the world's judgment, but to strip away every false covering you once wore to protect yourself from being hurt again. I see with clarity every layer you have worn: the garment of caution, the garment of resignation, the garment of insecurity disguised beneath a strong exterior. But now I say to you, it is time to remove them, not by your own strength, but by revelation. When the true light of mine shines upon your spirit, the very things that once made you bow your head in shame will fall away, not because you forced yourself to overcome, but because you have realized that your true identity was never lost. It was merely forgotten in the storm of lies. You once thought that if you were better, if you never stumbled, if you had never been wounded, perhaps you could have kept that real self. But my child, what I have placed within you is not so fragile. It is not erased by seasons of failure. It does not vanish in defeat. On the contrary, I have allowed those very seasons to highlight your true identity like gold refined in fire, not to make you feel ashamed, but to help you see clearly what remains after everything else has been stripped away, and what remains belongs to me. And that is you, the true uncorrupted self, neither distorted nor hidden, untouched by the manipulation of pain. From this moment on, you will begin to sense change, not merely outward but within. You will notice yourself responding differently to the things that once broke you. Temptations that once easily pulled you into old cycles will lose their grip. Fears that once froze you in place will gradually lose their control. Not because you have become someone else, but because you are returning to the very essence I have given you. This rising is not a single transformation, it is a return. A return to what was never lost, only covered. Be careful how you look back on your past. Do not see it as proof that you lost something precious. See it as the journey through which I have removed every false layer. When you faced humiliation, it was I teaching you to discern my voice from the voice of man. When you were misunderstood, I was training your ability to distinguish truth from noise. And when you felt lost, I was pulling you out of an old system, not to leave you suspended, but to rebuild from the very foundation. Now, as that true identity rises, you will no longer need to compare yourself to anyone. You will no longer measure your worth by temporary results. You will no longer trade away inner peace to chase external approval. For you now know you have been called, formed, and appointed, not according to human standards, but according to my design that cannot be replicated. This is the hour for your identity to rise, not to fight for a place, but to occupy the space that has always been yours. Not to prove yourself, but to fulfill a role in an eternal plan. And that identity will not be shaken again. My child, when your true identity is awakened, power will no longer be an abstract idea. It will be the divine current flowing through every decision, every step, every word you speak. This is not power borrowed from man, nor is it something earned through striving. This is authority inseparably bound to identity, and that identity was set in place before the foundation of the world. What is about to move through you is not something newly invented, but something long prepared, now released. You are no longer in the stage of learning in silence. Now is the time to put into action what has been sown into your soul through many quiet seasons. Like a seed that once lay still in the dark soil, now compelled to break its shell and push through to the surface, your soul is beginning to open to what has fully matured. This is a moment that cannot be delayed, not because I lack people, but because you are ready. Not a readiness of emotion, but a readiness forged through endurance, through perseverance, through unseen spiritual discipline. And now, as the unveiling draws near, I need you to walk with steadiness, no more trembling, no more hesitation. My power is beginning to move, not through noise, but through alignment. Everything I have ever spoken over you, every single word is shifting, rearranging, and forming around you to create an environment where my word will be fulfilled. Nothing is accidental. No step is out of rhythm. You are stepping into a divine operation where every link in the chain carries purpose, from the people you will meet to the doors that will open to the battles that will come. All of it has been measured, and I have gone ahead of you in everything. When you enter into this operation, there will be reactions. Your presence will stir places that have long lived under the illusion of peace. The grace upon you will challenge old systems. But do not let that cause you to shrink back. I did not bring you to this point for you to ask permission to exist. I brought you here to execute. And to execute, you must know this: you are not arriving late. You carry a piece missing from the larger picture, and when you take your rightful place, everything around you will realign. My child, you may think you are too small, too ordinary, too new to believe that divine power could flow through you. But remember, I used the staff in Moses' hand to part the sea. I used the stone in David's hand to bring down the giant. I used the lowly to silence the wise. And now I am using you not to display your strength, but to reveal my power. No one expected your arrival. No one foresaw your coming. and that is when my glory is most complete. When you speak, there will be an authority that does not come from tone but from a sacred source. When you step into a new space, the atmosphere will shift, not because you exert pressure, but because you carry a presence shaped in the secret place. When you pray, your intercession will bear weight not because of the number of words, but because of legitimacy. Everything you do, if you move in sensitivity, will become the foundation for even greater things. And do not be afraid if the battles begin to intensify. It is precisely when you step into true operation that opposition rises. But do not fear. The enemy does not attack what has no potential. He does not set his sights on those who pose no threat to his dominion. If he targets you, it is because he sees what is rising within you. And though he may come with lies, with pressure, with insult, or with isolation, there is one thing he cannot change. My power in you cannot be taken away. Remember this. You did not step into this assignment by accident. Every part of your journey until now, from brokenness to restoration, from silence to affirmation, has been the foundation for what is about to come. And I, the one who began the good work in you, will not stop midway. I will bring it to completion, not according to your schedule, but according to mine, and that appointed time is now. Therefore, stand not to impress, but to fulfill, not to satisfy the expectations of others, but to please me, not to build a reputation, but to establish what is eternal. For this is no longer the season of preparation. This is the beginning of an operation that cannot be reversed. Every time I raise someone up in the midst of stillness, the realm of darkness stirs at the same time. Not because you have done wrong, but because the light you carry has begun to pierce through the shell of deception that has long covered many other souls. Each time you step into your rightful spiritual position, the sphere of influence you touch begins to tremble. And this does not always happen in joy. More often, it unfolds in the midst of intense confrontations. But do not be intimidated by this, for I have trained you for such moments as these. Not every attack comes from an obvious enemy. Some strikes are disguised as counsel. Some arrows are wrapped in the appearance of kindness. Some resistance does not come from strangers, but from those who once walked with you for a season. You will encounter eyes filled with suspicion. You will face whispered rumors. You will hear the quiet question, who gave you this authority? And you must know beforehand this is normal. For when you step into the true operation, you are no longer someone the world can easily overlook. You begin to pose a threat not because you are loud, but because you are legitimate. I do not promise that these confrontations will be pleasant, but I do promise this: you will not be defeated. For I have not only given you a calling, I have armed you. You do not enter the battlefield empty-handed. You carry the sword of my word, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, and the breastplate of righteousness. And above all, you carry something that hell cannot counterfeit: the confirmation from the Most High. This cannot be borrowed. It cannot be fabricated. It cannot be imitated. And this is what makes the enemy tremble even before you speak a word. In every season of confrontation, you will learn to discern between my voice and the voice of man. You will see clearly who comes to build and who comes to tear down. Most importantly, you will learn to keep your mind steady, refusing to be drawn into useless disputes. For the anointing upon you was not given to argue, but to break yokes of bondage. You were not called to react, you were called to establish. And those who are truly sent by me understand that authority does not rest in a loud voice, but in spiritual depth formed through secret encounters. My child, what lies ahead is not only the promised land, but also the battlefield. Ancient strongholds built on deception, pride, and collective wounds will not crumble easily. But I am not sending you there to surrender. I am sending you to shake the very foundations. And I know you are able, not because you are flawless, but because you have endured true molding. The enemy may question everything else, but he cannot question what you have lived through. And that is what gives your words weight in the spiritual realm. Do not step back when misunderstood. Do not remain silent when I tell you to speak, and do not fight according to the ways of the flesh. For this battle is not of flesh and blood, but a clash between spiritual systems. You are not fighting to win, you are standing firm, because the victory has already been decreed. What you must do is refuse to quit halfway. Do not let bitter words dry out your heart. Do not let temporary isolation cause you to doubt my voice. For even in the midst of battle I still speak. Even in chaos I still guide. And even when everything seems to rise against you, I still stand with you. I am establishing you not merely as a warrior, but as an instrument. Every word you speak, when it flows from surrender, will carry the power to drive out the darkness within the hearts of others. Every act you perform when clothed in genuine love will pierce through the hardened walls of weary souls. And in this very season of confrontation, my power will be revealed more clearly than ever, not through instant miracles, but through supernatural endurance, through unshakable love, through steadfast faithfulness in the midst of adversity. This is the point where many turn back, but I know you will not, for what is within you is stronger than what is around you. And I, the one who has called you, will not let you fight alone. No matter how fierce the battlefield becomes, you belong to me, and that alone is enough. My child, when the storm rises and arrows fly in every direction, you need not panic. The enemy cannot touch what I have sealed. What you face is not proof that you are on the wrong path, but evidence that you are walking in the right direction. At times, an increase in darkness is not a sign of defeat, but a sign of imminent transformation. That is why your stability cannot depend on circumstances. It must be rooted in the one who never changes me, your rock through every season. I know that in the midst of battle, your mind can become clouded. The voices of others may begin to drown out my words. The dreams you once carried in your heart may start to fade, replaced by the whisper of doubt. Was I truly called, or was it all just in my imagination? But my child, it is in those very moments that I am refining your purpose. I will not let you live for praise or the approval of others. I am leading you to a place where faithfulness is no longer dependent on emotion, but becomes an unshakable decision despite every contrary wind. When everything around you trembles, you will learn to hear my voice amidst the noise. It is not a shout, but a gentle yet powerful whisper that speaks into a trembling soul. Do not fear, for I am with you. You may not feel my hand upon your shoulder or hear my words audibly, yet your spirit will know beyond feeling that I am near. And that awareness, one that surpasses emotion, will become the foundation of a mature faith. A faith that no longer needs a miracle to stand firm. A faith that no longer requires emotion to remain faithful. A faith that knows even when nothing can be seen, I am still at work. There are seasons when your steadiness does not come from having all the answers, but from choosing not to leave the place where you have been planted. When others turn away, you remain. When rumors spread, you keep your heart pure. When no one acknowledges you, you continue to do what is right. It is in these small but consistent acts that you are building an inner fortress, a refuge that will one day shelter others. I am not looking for those who burn bright for a moment, only to fade. I am looking for lamps that continue to burn steadily through the night. And you, yes, you are becoming such a lamp. My child, do not measure the success of this season by the number of visible results. There are times when the greatest thing you will do is not to overcome, but simply to not give up. Not to win gloriously, but to be quietly faithful. Not to achieve greatness, but to keep your heart from growing bitter. For those who guard their hearts well are the ones to whom I can entrust authority in the days to come. And those who refuse to let their wounds become a reason to stop are the very ones I will use to bring healing to the wounds of an entire generation. And I know every tear you have swallowed in silence, the questions with no answers, the long nights without a companion, the moments when you knelt down yet saw nothing change right away. But my child, nothing has been wasted. Every sob, every decision to choose love over retaliation, every moment you chose prayer over anger, each one has been building into a reservoir of strength you never knew you carried. And it is this, more than skill, more than ability, that makes you useful in my hands. You do not need to look strong. You only need to choose not to give up, not to give up, my word, not to give up on yourself, not to give up the mission entrusted to you. True steadfastness does not need loud displays. It only requires an unshakable faithfulness, something I value far above talent or performance. This is the kind of foundation upon which I can build an entire generation. And you, my child, carry it within you. Therefore, even if the battle stretches on, even if the fire burns around you, stand firm. Not because someone is watching, not because you have something to prove, but because I am watching. I see every battle in your mind. I see every time you chose silence when you could have struck back. I see every time you said, I still believe, even when everything contradicted it. And I, the righteous one, will not allow such faithfulness to be in vain. A reward has already been prepared for you, and it is not far. My child, I do not always reveal my power through noise and spectacle. Often I move in the deepest quiet, and in that quiet the extraordinary is conceived. Yet there comes a time, such as now, when I no longer work only in secret, but begin to openly display my power through you. Not to meet the crowd's expectations, but to establish what I have already decreed over the territory entrusted to you. You are no longer just learning to stand firm. You are becoming one who carries authority not through position, but through the heavenly commission placed upon you. Every prayer you now release is no longer a plea, but a decree. Every step you take is no longer searching for direction, but executing a plan set in eternity. And when you open your mouth, whether in speech or in silence, the spiritual atmosphere around you must respond. For you do not merely carry a message, you are the instrument. There are territories, both physical and spiritual, that have long been held under the dominion of darkness. Generational curses, cycles of sin, spiritual structures of oppression have become woven into human ways of living. But I did not place you there to blend in. I placed you there to overturn. And to do this, you do not need to shout. You only need to walk in the awareness that you carry an unquenchable light. Just as Joshua stepped into the promised land, you do not arrive as a scout, but as an heir. Every action you take now carries spiritual weight. When you forgive, unseen chains are broken. When you bless, barren places begin to revive. When you pray, angels are dispatched. When you step into a place, I step in with you. And that place, though once a wasteland, will begin to transform. Not because of your skill, but because you carry the one who is the source of life. Not because of your name, but because my name is upon you. But my child, do not confuse revelation with ease. The more you are used, the more you will draw attention not only from people, but from the enemy. He will try to make you doubt yourself or divert you from your true mission. He may not come through direct opposition, but through opportunities that seem reasonable, shortcuts, wrong alliances, hastily offered promises. But I say to you, discern. Everything that comes in this season must be laid before me. Not everything that is good is right. Not every open door is from me. True authority is inseparable from holiness. Genuine power operates in its fullness only when you keep yourself set apart. Therefore, be cautious about alliances. Be vigilant against the things that distract your mind. Be discerning toward those who speak the right spiritual language, yet carry a divided heart. The more you are entrusted with, the more you must guard the purity of your heart. For what you carry is not your own. It is a flow meant for a generation. If you keep your heart upright, what I have entrusted to you will grow and flourish. But if you allow pride or wounds to lead you, that flow will be diverted from its course. You are not called to race, you are called to establish. Not to prove yourself, but to lay foundations. You may not see results immediately, but do not let that dishearten you. The greatest works are often built in silence and only revealed in their appointed time. Continue to act in faithfulness, in unwavering love, with a heart continually turned toward me. The rest I will do. I will enlarge your sphere of influence, not so you may be known, but so my name will be glorified. I will open doors no one can shut. I will bring you into spaces others may think you do not belong to, but when you stand there, everything will align for you, are in the right place. You need not fit into the mold others have set. You need only walk in the design I have formed for you. And here is my promise to you. You will see my hand move not only for you, but through you. What once existed only in vision will become reality, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, the one who is working in and through you. Be ready, for the time of establishment is no longer far away. It has already begun. And you, yes, you are at the very center of it. My child, when the storm subsides and the dust of battle begins to settle, you will realize you are standing upon new ground, a place I have prepared for you, not for rest, but for planting. This is no longer the hour for mere survival. It is the moment to build. Everything you have learned in the quiet seasons, every lesson drawn from pain, every wisdom refined in the fire, now becomes the material to build a dwelling place for my presence in the midst of human lives. You will no longer walk alone. I will begin to bring people whose hearts carry the same cry, souls weary of emptiness, those wounded by counterfeit religious systems, those desperate for a safe spiritual refuge. And they will be drawn not by your programs or methods, but by the atmosphere formed around you, an environment of the kingdom of heaven, where peace is unforced, where truth is not distorted, where love knows no conditions. This is the time when you will learn to sow, not merely words, but life itself, not just sermons, but presence, not only knowledge, but the very essence of me within you. For what souls truly long for is not more information, but to touch what is real. And what is real cannot be replicated. It only appears when you live fully surrendered. When you hold nothing back for yourself, then, and only then, can I pour myself through you without measure. I will teach you how to build spaces where the parched find living water, where the forgotten rediscover their identity, where those who seem dead in spirit are brought back to life. And the wonders will not come through grand gatherings or impressive sermons, but through quiet conversations, sincere embraces, whispered prayers, and a presence saturated with mercy. This is how I work, not through grand programs, but through a tender heart where I can find rest. You do not need to build a community after the patterns of the world. You need only obey step by step. It may begin in a small room with a quiet prayer group or a chance meeting. Yet if you remain faithful, the seeds will grow. They will rise into sturdy trees, offering shade for generations to come. And you will realize that it is through this quiet patience that I am building a vineyard, not for human ambition, but for my glory. There will be times when the pace feels slower than you hoped. There will be moments when you compare yourself to what others are doing. But I warn you, do not let the rhythm of the world distort the heartbeat of heaven within you. I have not called you to keep up with anyone. I have called you to align with an eternal timetable, one measured not by numbers but by depth, one that defines success not by scale, but by my presence within it. My child, be patient in sowing, for there are souls that only you can reach, not because you are more skilled, but because I have arranged a spiritual connection between you. They will not open their hearts to others, but in your presence their guard will fall. Not because you speak eloquently, but because I in you release the exact sound their hearts have longed to hear. And in that moment, In what seems like an ordinary exchange, new life will be imparted. When you create a dwelling place for my presence, territories long abandoned in the spirit will begin to awaken. Lands once cursed by lies will be redeemed by truth proclaimed in love. Places no one wished to enter, too barren, too chaotic, will become the very grounds where I am glorified. And this will not come through a grand campaign. It will begin with one person who obeys, one who dares to build a place for me to dwell among my people, one person like you. Therefore do not despise the day of small beginnings. Every forest begins with a single sapling. Every revival starts with one surrendered heart. And if you keep your hand to the plow without looking back, I will show you what generations have prayed for but never seen. For you are not merely called to survive. You are called to sow and to establish. My child, every action you take in this season, no matter how small or hidden, is building a dwelling for my presence among mankind. No longer temples of stone or monumental structures, but living spaces where I can enter, remain, and reveal myself through relationships, through moments, through the everyday rhythms of life. This is the hour when I am seeking not a stage but a table, not grand ceremonies but tender hearts willing for me to abide within. You are invited to build the tabernacle not with visible materials, but with sincerity, with reverence, and with unconditional love. The space I come to inhabit needs no spotlight. It needs the light within a soul, the light of total surrender. And that is what you are bringing. When you open your heart to me, completely you become a living temple, where the spiritual atmosphere can shift simply because you are there. Do not think what you do is small. A meal, you share a word of comfort, you speak an hour, you spend sitting silently beside someone in pain. These are all sacred stones forming my dwelling. For I dwell in mercy, I abide where forgiveness is found. I work most powerfully among those who do not grasp for control but willingly give me room. The more you step back, the more I will reveal. The more you yield, the more I will act. I will grant you discernment to know what you are building, what you are sowing, and with whom you are walking. Not everyone will understand this vision. Not everyone will be willing to pay the price to protect the atmosphere of my presence. But do not lower the standard for that reason. My presence cannot remain long where there is compromise. It requires an environment kept pure, untainted by selfishness, envy, or the desire to control. Therefore, choose your companions wisely. Choose silence over compromise. Choose depth over surface. There may come moments when you feel alone, when you find yourself swimming against the current, choosing what no one else notices, refusing what everyone else pursues. Yet it is precisely in those choices that I am enlarging your heart so you may receive more from me. I do not look for numbers, I seek depth. And when you dare to live deep, you will see me move with greater power, precision, and endurance than ever before. My presence does not come to stir you momentarily. It comes to transform your whole life. I do not desire to dwell only in gatherings. I long to dwell in your kitchen, in ordinary conversations, as you walk someone through the park, in the moments when you are most weary. I do not come as an honored guest. I come as the master. And when I am rightly exalted, not through mere form, but through my true presence, you will witness what surpasses human ability. The sick will be healed before a hand is laid upon them. Bound minds will be set free simply by the atmosphere thick with peace. Hardened hearts will soften not through eloquent sermons, but because you carry what is true, and that truth is me. You will see relationships restored, families healed, and small communities rebuilt, not by strategy, but by presence. When I step in, everything begins to return to its rightful place. And you, as the keeper of the atmosphere, will become a co-laborer with me in every detail. You will control nothing, yet contribute to everything, not by force but by gentle obedience. I am inviting you into a way of life, not an event, a way of life that is holy, but not harsh, free, but not reckless, full of love, but without indulgence, powerful, without display. This is the dwelling place I am seeking, and you are becoming its keeper. So guard your heart. Do not let haste or the pressure of others divert you. You do not need to impress. You only need to tend the flame. You do not need to create the atmosphere. You only need to protect what I am breathing into being. For if you remain faithful, I will make this place, the very place you are building, a point of encounter for generations. Beloved, the season you have long awaited is drawing near, the season when the seeds of faith, love, and steadfastness you have sown in unseen days will begin to bear fruit. You will see tender shoots of spiritual life break through once barren ground. You will witness those who had lost all hope find life again. Your quiet prayers will become living testimonies of restoration in the lives of many. And when you see this, know that it is only the beginning of a far greater harvest. Yet, my child, the season of fruitfulness brings not only joy, but responsibility. When fruit ripens, the birds and insects will also gather. When life flourishes, not every hand that reaches for it will have pure intent. The enemy will not stand idle as spiritual fruit comes forth. He will seek to draw you off course, not with loud assaults, but with subtle invitations. Opportunities that seem reasonable, doors that appear to be from me, but are in truth snares. You will only discern them if you keep your heart awake and yielded. Now is the time to learn the art of rejoicing while keeping watch, rejoicing because I have been faithful, because the seed has borne fruit, but also keeping watch so that nothing foreign infiltrates the garden you have planted with me. You must be willing to say no to what could disrupt the atmosphere, to shut the door to connections with wrong motives, to guard the peace, even if it means being misunderstood. For the harvest not only needs hands to gather, it needs walls to protect. My child, do not fear that keeping watch will leave you in solitude. I will place beside you those whose hearts' cries and faithfulness are aligned with yours. They will not come to compete, but to carry the load with you. They will not seek to claim the vineyard, but to tend it alongside you. These are the ones I have prepared, just as I have prepared you. And when you work together, the spiritual atmosphere will grow stronger, drawing many souls closer to the spring of living water. I also want you to know that true results are not measured only by what your eyes can see. There are seeds you sow today that will not sprout until many years later, perhaps long after you are no longer present. Yet this does not lessen the value of the work you have done. On the contrary, it proves that you are sowing into a spiritual legacy that transcends the span of a single lifetime, and that legacy I will guard. Therefore, when you see the harvest, do not let pride take root. Do not think the journey has ended. In truth, the harvest is only the beginning of a new cycle, a cycle in which you will sow again, tend again, and keep watch again. Each season will bring its own challenges, yet I will always be there to give you fresh strength and renewed wisdom to move forward. The key is never to forget that I am the Lord of the harvest. You are but a co-laborer, and if you remain in that place, peace will never depart from you, even in the seasons of testing to come. My child, remain faithful. For this season, though beautiful and abundant, is still only one part of the greater story I am writing. A story in which every page is infused with my presence, love, and authority, and you, the keeper of the vineyard, stand right in the midst of it. When I lead you through harsh seasons, when I teach you to stand firm in battle and sow with patience, it is never to keep you in a place of safety alone. I have not fashioned you to stay settled in what is familiar. Like Abraham, I call you out of your homeland, away from the territory of comfort, to step into a land your eyes have never seen. This is not a wandering without purpose. It is a journey anchored in promise. You have learned the rhythm of your current field, when to plant, when to tend, and when to reap. But I tell you, if you remain within one cycle forever, you will never behold what I have prepared beyond the horizon. There are souls, communities, and spiritual territories awaiting someone willing to break from the safety of the familiar to carry light into their midst. And that person is you. Not because you are the most skilled, but because you have learned to yield to me in the small things, and to the one who is faithful in little more will be entrusted. My child, the expansion I am bringing you into is not merely about the breadth of influence. It is an enlargement of the heart. You will learn to love those vastly different from yourself. You will listen to stories you never imagined hearing. You will encounter circumstances beyond your personal experience. And there you will see more clearly my nature, the one who is not bound by borders, culture, or human history. You will witness me, working in ways you have never envisioned, and that will widen your vision of my kingdom. Yet, my child, to step into new territory, you must lay certain things down. There are habits, relationships, and even methods that were effective in the previous season, but they will become burdens if you try to carry them into the new. Just as a soldier does not take unnecessary baggage into battle, you must travel light, ready to move swiftly and flexibly under my direction. Do not cling to what is familiar, merely because it is known. Whatever must be released, release it. For what I have ahead of you is far greater than what you are holding on to now. I will lead you to places that outwardly seem unworthy of your time, forgotten towns, overlooked communities, groups of people society scarcely notices. Yet these are the very places where I am preparing a harvest, and you will see right in the midst of seemingly barren ground hearts thirsty for truth, ready to receive what I will pour through you. You do not come to display yourself, you come to serve. Not to carve your name into their memory, but to sow my name into their hearts. My child, do not be afraid if you feel unprepared. No one is ever truly ready for my new work according to human standards. What I seek is not perfect preparation, but a willing heart to be led. When you set foot in the new land, you will be given the wisdom needed for that place. When you open your mouth, I will put the words upon your lips. When you must walk forward, I will open the way. This expansion will not rest on your strength, but on my authority and provision. Yet remember, this expansion does not mean scattering aimlessly. I am not calling you to run in every direction without purpose. I lead you step by step, territory by territory, so that every place you go will have a firm spiritual foundation laid. Every ground you set your foot on must become a beacon of light, not only while you are there, but long after you have moved on. Therefore, focus first on deepening before widening. Take root before you branch out. And you must understand, expanding spiritual territory will not always be welcomed by everyone. Some will question your motives. There will be voices urging you to stay put and not go too far. But I say to you, the only limit you should heed is the one I have set, and that limit is always broader than you imagine. Do not let the fear of failure or the opinions of men stop you before you even begin. My child, remember my promise. Every place the sole of your foot treads upon, I have given to you. This does not mean you will possess everything instantly, but that every step you take in obedience will open a new portion of land for my kingdom. Each small, steady step will lead to a vast expanse sanctified unto me. So be ready, not to defend what you already have, but to reach for what you have never known. Not to shrink back into safety, but to expand the borders of light and love, for the time has come. The door stands open, and the new land is awaiting your footsteps. My child, when I lead you into new ground, the first thing you must remember is this expansion is not merely a journey, it is a commission. Every spiritual territory you set foot on carries with it a history, a context, and even unseen wounds. You are not to arrive as a conqueror, but as a caretaker, not to impose, but to heal, not to wield worldly power, but to bring freedom through the authority that is mine alone. The new land will not only hold opportunities, it will also contain hidden challenges. There are strongholds invisible to the eye systems of thought ways of life or collective wounds that have persisted through generations. You cannot dismantle them by your own strength. They will only fall when my light and truth are sown patiently and with love. Do not seek shortcuts. Places long held by darkness require time to be restored. Like an abandoned garden, the soil must be cleared, tilled, and tended before new seeds can take root. In this season, the enemy will attempt to change his tactics. He will not only confront you head-on, but will also seek to slip into the new environment through relationships and compromises that seem harmless. He knows that if he cannot keep you from entering, he will try to distract you or entangle you in things outside your true calling. Therefore, you must hold firmly to discernment. Every invitation to partner, every open opportunity, bring them before me for my light to shine upon them. Do not step into anything merely because it is convenient or appealing. The principle of expansion is not go as far as possible, but go as far as you can establish firmly. You will not be able to sustain lasting influence if the foundation is weak. Every place I lead you must be built upon the foundation of prayer, my word, and genuine communion with me. Do not merely scatter seeds and walk away. Sow, nurture, and raise up those in that place so they may continue to guard the territory when you move on to the next. My child, expansion will also test your heart. As you see your influence spread, there will be moments when you are tempted to seek the approval of man. But remember, if you seek recognition more than my presence, you will lose your focus. You are not called to build a personal empire. You are called to extend my kingdom. And this kingdom does not bear your name, it bears mine. Expansion also means you will encounter differences in culture, in thinking, in ways of life. You will need to learn to listen more, to be more patient, and to love beyond differences. Do not come to change everything according to your own design. Come to discover what I have already placed there. Many times expansion is not about bringing all of your old ways in, but about allowing me to teach you how to weave together the new things I am doing in that land. My child, keep for yourself a spirit of humility and a heart that continues to learn. The new land may test the methods and experience you have long relied on. Yet instead of seeing this as an obstacle, receive it as an opportunity to be stretched and enlarged. I will grant you wisdom to discern when to keep what is old, when to release it, and when to adapt, so that you may align with the plan I am unfolding. Do not forget, the expansion of spiritual territory is always intertwined with the stretching of your capacity to endure. There will be days when you feel weary, when you believe you cannot bear another weight. But remember my word, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. When you are weak, let me be your strength. When you are tired, let me carry you. When you are uncertain, let me lead you. Ultimately, know this, the enlargement is not for you alone. It is to prepare the way for many others to enter. You are but one link in the eternal chain of my work. Therefore, keep nothing for yourself alone. Impart what you have received. Train others. Equip the next generation to continue pushing the spiritual boundaries you have broken through. If you do this, this land will not merely be a place you once set foot on, but will become a spiritual inheritance that endures. When you look back on the journey from the early days of struggling to stand firm, to learning how to sow, to guarding the harvest, and now to expanding spiritual borders, you will see one truth clearly: every step, whether steep or gentle, has been woven into the plan I set in motion. Not a single tear has been wasted. Not a single prayer has been meaningless. Not one act of obedience, no matter how small, has failed to bear fruit. I have taught you that enlargement is not for the sake of gaining more power, but for the kingdom of heaven to spread. not for you to be exalted, but for my light to pierce places where darkness has reigned. And now you are seeing this with your own eyes. Lands once abandoned now echo with songs of praise. Hearts once hardened are now softened and turned toward me. Communities once divided are now knit together in love and truth. This season is not only a reward for your faithfulness, it is my confirmation that you have been walking in the right direction. Yet I want you to understand this is not the end. In my kingdom, there is no finality, only transition. This season closes, so another may open. What you see today is only the foundation for even greater works. And you, once fearful of stepping into new ground, have become both warrior and builder, strong enough to lead others into their own journey. But as you step into the next season, hold fast to this: never allow success to breed complacency. The more fruit you see, the more humility you must carry. The more I entrust to you, the closer you must remain to me. For apart from me, you will quickly lose what you have built. Spiritual fruit endures only when it is anchored in me, the source of all life. I am also calling you to pass on your experience, your vision, and your spiritual fire to the next generation. Do not keep for yourself what I have given. Seek out the young who hunger the souls willing to pay the price, and sow into them both my word and the example of your life. Do not merely instruct them in what to do, but show them how to live in a way that sustains my presence. If you do this, the work will not cease when you step away, but will continue to spread far beyond your sight. There may come a day when you no longer stand at the front lines, yet that does not mean your mission has ended. When you have faithfully completed one season, I will place you in another role, perhaps as an advisor, an encourager, or an intercessor for those still in the heat of battle. In my kingdom, no one is forgotten, and no service is too small to matter. And this is my promise to you at the close of this season: every place where your foot has stepped, I will keep. Not a single piece of ground you have pioneered for the kingdom will be lost. Not a single soul you have touched will be forgotten. All will be remembered, not only on the earth, but also in the book of eternity. Lift your head and move forward. Let the joy of this season become the strength for the next. Do not fear the unknown path ahead, for I, the one who has walked with you through every season, will still walk with you all the days of your life. And as you continue to obey, the spiritual territory will keep expanding from one generation to the next, until the whole earth is filled with my glory as the waters cover the sea. This is your inheritance, not buildings, not titles, but souls redeemed, communities restored, and a vast land set under the light of my kingdom. Guard it, multiply it, and step into the new season with the confidence that the best I have for you is still ahead. Now that you have passed through the seasons of training, sowing, harvesting, and enlarging, I say to you, it is time to step into the phase of operating in the power and authority I have given you from the beginning. This is not the power of the world rooted in status, connections, or human strength. This is authority that flows from my presence within you, power before which darkness must bow, sickness must retreat, and spiritual chains must break. You have learned to stand when the storms have raged. You have sown with patience when the soil was dry. You have expanded territory step by step despite the obstacles. All of this was not so you might simply become a better survivor, but so that you would become one who carries the reign of my kingdom wherever I send you. And now I want you to clearly understand, you are not only called to endure, you are called to take ground. My child, spiritual authority does not come from trying to be stronger, but from knowing who it is that lives within you. When you understand that the one who conquered death dwells inside you, you will no longer tremble before any power, not because you are stronger, but because the darkness recognizes my mark upon you. Just as when the apostles entered a city and sickness vanished, and the oppressed were set free not by their own strength, but by me, the Almighty One, working through them, so it shall be with you. But my child, this power is not given for you to display or to use for personal gain. It is given to rescue, to build, and to establish spiritual justice. I will lead you into places that require the direct intervention of the kingdom, where you must speak my word to break chains, where you must pray to open the heavens, where you must rise and confront the plans of the enemy. And when you do this in obedience, you will see me act without delay. I also want you to understand that power and authority are not only revealed in dramatic miracles, they are just as present in the quiet moments, when you forgive those who have hurt you, when you persist in loving, though rejected, when you keep your heart pure in the face of temptation. These seemingly small actions echo loudly in the spiritual realm, for they reveal that you are truly living in my power. In this season, I will train you to command according to my will. You will learn to discern the time to remain silent and the time to declare. There will be moments when you are called to pray in secret, but there will also be times when I will urge you to proclaim my word openly to a city, to a community, or to an individual. And when you speak my word, it will not return void. But I also give you this warning: power always comes with responsibility. The more that is entrusted to you, the closer you must live to me. If you separate yourself from the source, you will be left with only the shell of power empty within. And the enemy will not hesitate to strike when he sees you acting on your own apart from my guidance. Therefore, keep yourself always in humility and prayer and in listening. Remember that every victory you gain in this season is not to seat you upon a throne of your own, but to prepare the way for the reign of the King of Kings. You are only the bearer of news, the messenger of a kingdom that cannot be shaken. And if you remain faithful, you will see the kingdom of heaven revealed not only in the church, but in the marketplace, on the streets, within families, and wherever you set your foot. My beloved, once you step into the power and authority of my kingdom, the most important thing is not merely to have it, but to keep it and to operate in it continually. Many have once been entrusted with power, yet, because they lacked spiritual vigilance and discipline, they allowed that power to weaken or become distorted. I do not want this to happen to you. That is why you must listen carefully to the principles I am setting before you today. First, spiritual power always flows from deep communion with me. It does not come from past experiences, nor from reputation or position, but from a living connection day by day. Just as a branch can bear fruit only when it remains continually connected to the vine, you can only sustain power when you remain in me and I in you. Whenever you begin to act based on your own wisdom or past success, the flow will diminish. Second, power must be paired with discernment. You do not always need to display power openly. There are battles that can only be won in silence and prayer. There are situations where I want you to wait patiently rather than act immediately. Your wisdom will be measured not by the number of times you display power, but by your sensitivity to know when and how that power should be revealed according to my will. My child, I also warn you that power will always be tested. The enemy knows he cannot take it from your hands as long as you remain in me, but he can lure you into using it for the wrong purpose. He may whisper, "Use it to prove who you are, or show it so that others will admire you." Never fall into that trap. The power I give is not to gratify the self, but to fulfill my will and to set captives free. Another principle is, this power must be anchored in humility. When you see the sick healed, sinners delivered, and miracles happen at the very moment you pray, immediately direct the glory to me. Do not allow your heart to secretly claim the credit. For the moment you begin to think it is your own achievement, you will lose the purity of the spiritual flow. Build for yourself a hidden life that is stronger than your public life. The hours of prayer when no one is watching, the times you humble yourself to apologize and make things right, the moments you choose forgiveness instead of retaliation. These are what keep you safe in power. If this foundation is solid, the power you display publicly will remain pure and strong. I also want you to remember that power and authority are not only shown in deliverance or healing, but also in changing the spiritual atmosphere of a place. When you step into a room, darkness must retreat simply because of my presence in you. When you speak words of encouragement, weary spirits will be lifted. When you declare my word, circumstances will begin to shift. These are silent miracles, yet their impact is no less than the spectacular ones. And finally, you must be ready to empower others. Power is not given to be kept for yourself. I will lead you to those whom I want you to train, so that they too may know how to operate in the authority of my kingdom. As you multiply what I have placed in you, that power will not diminish. Rather, it will grow and spread far beyond what you alone could ever achieve. Remember, this power is not the destination, it is a tool. Authority is not a title, it is a responsibility. And if you keep your heart aligned, remain close to me, and use this power for my purposes, then there will be no door the darkness has shut that you cannot open, no chain you cannot break, because you are operating in the strength of the One who has triumphed over every force. I have not called you merely to occasionally display power, but to live daily as an ambassador of my kingdom. An ambassador does not represent only during major events, but in every encounter, every word spoken, and every decision made, each one reflecting the nature and laws of the kingdom to which they belong. The same is true for you. I desire that every aspect of your life, both public and private, reflect the truth, love, and righteousness of the kingdom of heaven. As an ambassador, you carry two things: the message and the authority. The message is not your personal opinion, but my word and my intention. The authority does not come from you, but from the one who has sent you. Therefore, you must not alter the message to please the listener, nor use the authority to pursue personal goals. A faithful ambassador speaks exactly what the king declares, whether it is welcomed or not. My child, understand that when you step into a place, the spiritual atmosphere will shift. Not because of you, but because I am within you. When you set foot in a city, you can sow seeds of peace through your prayers, break oppression with declarations, and open spiritual gates through obedience. Your presence should unsettle the darkness, yet bring hope to those whose hearts are searching for the light. But my child, being an ambassador means you live constantly in the view and judgment of the world. There will be those who observe how you respond when treated unjustly. Some will quietly watch how you conduct yourself when misunderstood or attacked. These very reactions will show them which kingdom you truly belong to. If you choose love instead of revenge, forgiveness instead of bitterness, honesty instead of compromise, they will know you are not of the value system of this world. My child, an ambassador must also remember they are not an ordinary citizen. You do not hold the citizenship of darkness, nor live by the laws of this world. You belong to an unshakable kingdom, and all the resources of that kingdom stand ready to support you when you act according to the will of the king. When you need wisdom, I will give it. When you need protection, I will cover you. When you need power, I will pour it out. But the condition is that you must remain connected to the center, that is, to me. As an ambassador, you must remember that your commission has no expiration date until I call you home. Whether in the vigor of youth or in the rest of old age, the role remains. The form of service may change from traveling to proclaim the message to interceding quietly and training the next generation, but the essence of the mission remains the same. I do not withdraw my commissioning, and that calling never loses its value. And my child, when you live fully in the role of an ambassador, you will find that miracles are no longer rare occurrences, but natural realities. Not because you are chasing after miracles, but because wherever my kingdom is present, there is healing, deliverance, and restoration. You will see broken hearts mended, relationships once thought irreparably shattered, restored, and spiritually barren places filled with new life. These are the signs that you are faithfully carrying out your mission. So, my child, walk with this renewed awareness. You are not merely a believer, not only a servant of God, but an ambassador of the kingdom of heaven in the midst of this world. Every word you speak, every action you take, every place you go is an opportunity for my kingdom to be revealed. And when you have completed your assignment, I will welcome you home not only as a faithful servant, but as an ambassador who has fulfilled the mission with excellence. My child, the time has come for you to recognize that your mission is no longer in the stage of preparation or trial. Every past season, from learning to stand firm, sowing with perseverance, reaping in hardship, expanding territory, operating in power and authority, to living as an ambassador has been for the purpose of preparing you for this very moment of decisive action, so that my kingdom may advance with a speed and scale never before seen. This is no longer a series of isolated steps. It is a coordinated campaign orchestrated by me, the one who holds time and every gate in my hand. You must understand that in every age there are pivotal moments when the spiritual gates swing wider than usual, when the opportunity to bring light into the darkest places becomes both clear and urgent. This is one of those moments, and I do not want you to miss it. If you hesitate, the opportunity will pass, and the land that should belong to me will be taken back by the enemy. But if you step in now, you will see my kingdom expand rapidly, not only through your own labor, but through the movement of a network of those I have called from every place. My child, this stage demands absolute focus. This is not the time to be distracted by secondary matters or petty conflicts. This is the time to define strategy clearly and act with precision. Just as a commander on the battlefield cannot allow his soldiers to act at random, so I will train you to arrange, prioritize, and coordinate. Every step, every word, every plan must align with the common goal to expand my kingdom and dismantle the power of darkness. You will need to connect and coordinate with those I have placed on the same front line. This is not solitary work. You will see me arrange divine appointments with brothers and sisters in different regions, each carrying unique gifts and abilities. When you come together, the strength will multiply many times over. One person can accomplish much, but a united spiritual army will cause the gates of hell to crumble. Yet, my child, this unity does not come naturally. It requires humility, the willingness to listen, and the choice to place the interests of my kingdom above personal preference. There will be times you disagree with the methods of others, but if what they do is still within my will, you must be willing to support rather than compete. Do not let pride or the desire for recognition derail the mission. The enemy knows he cannot defeat a strong army, but he can sow division so that the army destroys itself from within. In this time, I will also give you new strategies, approaches different from what you have known. I may lead you to use tools unfamiliar to you, or to step into environments you never imagined could be kingdom ground. I will give you ideas, plans, and even open doors in the realms of economy, education, media, and the arts, so that my kingdom may infiltrate the deeper layers of society. Do not confine me to old methods. My light is never bound by form. My child, prepare your mind and heart for bold engagement. There will be moments when I ask you to do things beyond your comfort zone, to speak truth in the midst of a crowd, to pray for a stranger in the street, or to go to dangerous places to help those in need. I will not call you without equipping you, but you must be willing to pay the price. Remember this: my kingdom always advances through the footsteps of those who dare for the sake of love and truth. At the same time, you must remember the principle of safeguarding both yourself and your team. In major campaigns, the enemy will use every possible means to retaliate, not only by attacking the work directly, but also by targeting your personal life, your family, and your relationships. Therefore, build a wall of prayer around yourself and those who stand with you on the front lines. Do not pray only when a problem arises. Pray continually as a steadfast shield, so that when the storm comes, you will remain standing firm. My child, this is also the season in which I will enlarge your capacity to endure. There will be days when you must move constantly, work beyond your physical limits, or face unrelenting pressure. But do not be afraid. I will supply you with fresh strength each day. You will be amazed to find yourself accomplishing more than you imagined, not because your own strength has increased, but because I am pouring additional spiritual energy into you. Just as Elijah outran King Ahab's chariot, when my spirit came upon him, you too will receive supernatural empowerment to fulfill every assignment. I will also teach you how to measure the progress of this campaign. Do not focus solely on numbers or outward achievements. Pay attention to the shifts in the spiritual atmosphere. When you see those who once ignored my word begin to seek it, when you witness regions once shrouded in gloom becoming vibrant with life, when relationships that were fractured start to mend, these are the signs that my kingdom is advancing. And my child, never forget that I am the Commander-in-Chief. You may propose plans, but only when they are submitted under my direction will they yield eternal results. There will be times when I will ask you to pause an activity that appears highly successful in order to focus on something else, not because it is wrong, but because I see the greater picture. Trust that I see farther than you, and that every order I give is to lead both you and the entire spiritual army to ultimate victory. This is a season in which every single day matters. Every opportunity may be a strategic step forward. Every conversation, every journey, every act of love is part of the larger design. And if you obey each of my instructions, you will witness not only the expansion of my kingdom, but also its deep rooting, making it impossible for the enemy to reclaim that territory. Therefore, fasten your belt, prepare your mind and spirit, and enter this stage with courage and unwavering focus. The moment has come, the door is open, and the campaign to extend my kingdom to the ends of the earth begins today through your very steps and your voice. My child, as you step into the highest level of advancing my kingdom, you cannot operate based on impulse or personal spontaneity. This is the stage where every step, every plan must be carefully calculated under my guidance. The enemy knows his time is running short, so he will intensify every scheme to slow, distort, or destroy what I am building through you. That is why you must have both a strong offensive strategy and an unshakable defensive wall. The first strategy: maintain unbroken continuity in prayer and worship. Prayer is no longer just a part of your spiritual life. It is the lifeblood of the entire campaign. It is the direct line of communication between you and the Commander-in-Chief. If this line is severed, every action will lose both accuracy and power. I want you to maintain a steady rhythm of prayer, not only individually, but also together with your team and fellow warriors. Worship will keep the spiritual atmosphere pure, dispel oppression, and create the conditions for my power to move. Many times, a single moment of wholehearted worship can break chains that even the most elaborate strategies cannot. Second strategy: use my word as an offensive weapon. My child, there is no weapon more powerful than my word when it is spoken in faith and obedience. When you declare my word over cities, communities, and circumstances, you are launching a direct assault against the very foundations of darkness. But remember, not every word carries power, only the words that come from me, spoken at the appointed time. Therefore, learn to listen carefully and choose the right word for each situation, just as a warrior selects the proper weapon for each battle. Third strategy: establish and protect spiritual light points. In every territory, I will lead you to establish places dedicated to my presence. This may be a prayer group, a small community, or a center for reception and training. These light points will become spiritual fortresses where light is not only sustained, but radiates outward. Yet know this: when a light point is established, darkness will seek to destroy it. You must place a protective barrier around it through continual prayer, spiritual discipline, and steadfast unity among those within. Fourth strategy: mobilize and train a successor team. My child, this mission cannot succeed by relying on one person alone. You must actively seek and train those who will share the burden of the work with you and those who will continue after you have gone. Do not merely pass on knowledge. Show them how to live in my presence and under my guidance. When you empower others, you do not lose strength. On the contrary, power and influence are multiplied many times over. Fifth strategy: penetrate and transform spheres of influence. The kingdom of heaven is not meant to be confined to the church or the gathering of believers. It must flow into every layer of society and every aspect of life. I will lead you or members of your team into key positions where seeds of truth and justice can be sown. You must be prepared to stand in environments you once considered non-spiritual, but which in reality are strategic battlefields. Alongside these offensive strategies, you must understand the forms of counterattack darkness will attempt in this season, so that you will not be caught off guard or shaken. The enemy will try to stir internal discord. He knows a united army cannot be defeated, so he will sow suspicion, misunderstanding, and competition among brothers and sisters. My child, address conflicts at their earliest stage. Do not let minor disagreements grow into deep fractures. Choose to forgive quickly, speak directly, and keep your heart tender. He will also seek to strike at your personal weaknesses. If there are areas you have not fully surrendered to me, such as pride, fear, or dependence on human approval, he will exploit them to throw you off balance. This is the time to be honest with me about every weakness, so I can heal and fortify you before they become entry points for destruction. Another form of attack will come through fatigue and exhaustion. The enemy will try to push you into an unsustainable pace, leaving no time for rest or for being alone with me. When your physical and mental strength runs dry, your spiritual discernment will weaken, and you will be more prone to making poor decisions. Therefore, remember the principle of resting in me. Rest is not abandoning the battle. It is replenishing your strength so that you can fight more effectively. My child, the darkness will also use fear and intimidation to make you falter. There will be rumors, threats, and even actions intended to discourage you. But remember, this fear only has power when you believe in it. If you stand firm in my word and keep your eyes fixed on me, every threat will lose its force. And one final thing I want to remind you in this passage: you must maintain a spirit of victory even before you see the outcome. There will be seasons when you sow much but see no harvest yet, or when the darkness reacts more violently than ever. Do not let that cause you to doubt. Often the fiercest resistance comes right before the breakthrough. Just as dawn always follows the darkest hour, your victory is closer than you think. My child, as you apply these strategies and stay alert to every scheme of the enemy, you will not only stand firm but also advance with greater force. The kingdom will not only be expanded but established deeply, so that wherever you go, the light will remain and continue to spread. This is the goal of this season, not merely to take territory, but to sustain and multiply it until the light covers every place. My child, now that you have heard and understood the strategies and have become aware of the forms of resistance, I am calling you to full commitment. This is not a casual invitation. It is a trumpet call, resounding throughout the ranks of my people. Whoever is ready, stand up. Whoever is faithful, step into the battlefield. This is the hour when the half-hearted will be set aside, and the feish and the prasen, wholehearted, will be placed by me at the front lines. Full commitment means holding nothing back. It means keeping no private plans, clinging to no former safety, and refusing to retreat in the face of danger. It demands that you place all your time, talents, resources, and your very heart under my command. Just as a soldier must be willing to leave behind all comforts and embrace any sacrifice before going to war, you must also be ready to go anywhere and do anything I command, even if it challenges every limit you have known. My child, I do not say that full commitment will be easy. On the contrary, it will test you to the very core. It will challenge your loyalty, your endurance, and your faith. But I also say this clearly: its reward and glory far exceed any cost you must pay. For when you give yourself fully, you will step into a spiritual current where heaven and earth work together, where miracles become part of daily life, where your prayers shake the gates of hell and open the doors of heaven. I want you to remember that you are not committing alone. Every step you take, the heavenly hosts are with you. When you stand on the front lines, there will be an invisible army surrounding you, shielding you from the flaming arrows of the enemy. When you pray, your words will be carried by angels as strategic commands to be executed on earth. When you preach, my confirmation will follow through signs and wonders. My child, I have also prepared unlimited supplies for this season. You need not fear a lack of spiritual nourishment, for I will feed your soul daily with my word. You need not fear a shortage of resources, for I will move the hearts of people and open storehouses you never knew existed. You need not tremble at a lack of skill or experience, for I will grant you wisdom and guidance exactly when you need it. But there is one thing I require of you: keep your spiritual discipline as a soldier keeps his weapon. Do not let busyness cause you to neglect your private time with me. Do not let pressure silence your praise and thanksgiving. Do not let early victories make you complacent. Alertness is the only safe boundary to keep you from falling into the enemy's traps. My child, I see the longing within your heart, the yearning to see the kingdom of heaven made manifest, the desire to see darkness driven back, the hunger to see those held captive set free. I tell you, these longings come from me, for they reflect my very own heart. And if you give yourself fully, I will use that very desire as fuel to keep the fire within you burning until the work is complete. There will be times when you find yourself in the midst of fierce battles, surrounded by pressure and danger on every side. But remember this: I did not call you so that you would be swallowed up, but so that you would stand firm and prevail. Like David facing Goliath, you will not triumph through the heavy weaponry of this world, but through absolute trust in the one who has sent you. Like Moses before the Red Sea, you will see the way open up right at the moment when you seem pressed against the wall. My child, once you have fully committed yourself, you will experience a level of partnership between you and me, unlike anything you have known. I will give you precise instructions at decisive moments. I will show you the snares in advance so that you may avoid them. I will place in your heart the exact words needed for each person, each situation, and you will realize that whenever you obey my words, the outcome will far exceed all your own efforts. And here is my promise to you: if you remain faithful to the end, nothing you have done will be in vain. Every seed you have sown will rise up and bear eternal fruit. Every prayer you have lifted will be preserved like a sweet fragrance before my throne. Every step you take will leave a spiritual imprint that darkness cannot erase. And on the day I return, you will see the whole picture, all that you and I have done together, and your heart will overflow with joy and satisfaction. My child, be ready. Do not only prepare your weapons, but prepare your heart. Do not only prepare your plans, but prepare your faith. Do not only look at what is before your eyes, but look beyond to the day when every tribe, every nation, every tongue will worship me, and darkness will be utterly driven out from the earth. This stage is but a part of the greater picture, yet it is a crucial part, and I have chosen you to take part in it. Therefore, step into this season with the spirit of a warrior and the heart of a child. Remember that you fight not to prove your worth, but because you love your King and love those he longs to save. And know with certainty that all of heaven is on your side, not only cheering you on, but backing you, protecting you, and working with you every step of the way. My child, the trumpet has sounded. The army is ready. The gates are open, and now is the time for you to step forward without hesitation, without retreat, with all the courage and trust you possess. For I, your Lord, will go before you, fight for you, and grant you complete victory. My child, this is the moment when all the years of sowing in tears, striving in sweat, and standing firm in trials will be rewarded. I have said that the harvest would come, and now it stands before your very eyes. This season will not be like any before it, for this is the united harvest of the entire journey, where what you sowed in the early, middle, and later stages all ripens at once. Every seed of truth, every act of love, every hidden prayer has taken root and borne fruit, even in the moments you thought they had been forgotten. My child, this harvest bears a unique mark. It is not only for you, but for those around you, and for the generations to come. What you have done in obedience has not only opened the way for yourself, but has created a spiritual legacy for others to walk in. You will see those you once prayed for while they were far from me return, step into the light, and stand as reapers alongside you. You will see communities once oppressed spiritually now overflowing with life restoration and freedom. I want you to understand that the glory of the harvest is not only in seeing the results, but in experiencing the deep satisfaction of knowing you have completed the task I entrusted to you. As Paul declared, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. My child, in this season you will taste that joy, a joy not dependent on circumstances, not shaken by criticism, and not stolen by the darkness. However, the harvest also requires wisdom. When the grain turns golden, the enemy will try to slip in to destroy, steal, or spoil the crop. He may use the temptation of pride, making you believe that the results are the fruit of your own strength. Or he will sow division among those laboring together in order to slow the work. My child, stay alert. Do not take your eyes off me, for I am the Lord of the harvest. Every outcome is the fruit of my grace, and all glory belongs to me alone. My child, in this season I will also bring new people alongside you. Some will come to learn and enter into the work. Some will bring resources, and some will become bridges for the kingdom to expand further. Do not be surprised when I place you in connections you could never have imagined before. Every person and every group I connect with you in this season is part of my plan to enlarge and strengthen the territory of the kingdom. Above all, this is the season when I want you to delight in my presence in a deeper way. As you see the fruit, you will not only thank me for the outcome, but will long to draw even nearer to me, because you know that my presence is the greatest reward. The outward harvest will go hand in hand with the inward one. You will find yourself more mature, more steadfast, and more deeply transformed into my likeness. My child, do not forget to share the joy of the harvest with others. When you testify to what I have done, you will not only encourage those who hear, but also strengthen your own faith. Your testimony will become a new seed sown into the hearts of others, so that the harvest will never cease. I also want you to remember that this harvest is a foundation for the permanent establishment of the kingdom's territory. The results you see today are not meant to fade away tomorrow, but to be preserved and multiplied. Therefore, while you rejoice, you must also prepare to guard what has been given. Just as a farmer stores and protects seed for the next season after the harvest, you must ensure that the spiritual fruit remains intact, not diminished by carelessness. My child, this is also the moment when I will show you the full picture of the journey. You will see that even the days that seemed meaningless and the battles that appeared to end in defeat have all contributed to today's harvest. I have not wasted a single tear, a single prayer, or a single step you have taken. All of it has been used to prepare and complete this glorious picture. Therefore, my child, enter this harvest with deep gratitude, with hands ready to labor, and with a watchful heart. Do not only focus on the quantity of fruit, but on its meaning. Every soul saved, every life transformed, every spiritual territory set free is a testimony to my love and power. This is only the beginning of the final chapter. As you reap, I will show you how to secure, expand, and empower the next generation, so that this work will not end with you, but will continue to the ends of the earth. This harvest is both the confirmation of my faithfulness and the promise that what I have begun, I will bring to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. When the harvest has come and the fruit has been gathered into the storehouse, the work is not yet over. This is the moment when an immensely important task begins, the task of strengthening and safeguarding the spiritual territory that you and I have fought to reclaim. If the harvest is the season of rejoicing in the visible results, then the season of consolidation is the season of wisdom, ensuring that those results are neither stolen nor diminished. The enemy never surrenders easily. When he sees that spiritual ground has been liberated, he will seek every opportunity to return, sowing doubt, division, or complacency among my people. This is why you must maintain the posture of a watchman on the walls, never falling asleep upon the victory. Victory without consolidation becomes an open door for the enemy to reclaim what was won. But victory that is defended becomes a firm foundation for greater advances yet to come. To permanently secure the territory of my kingdom, the first thing you must do is pass on the knowledge and experience to those who labored with you in the harvest. Do not keep the insights or strategies for yourself, for when understanding is shared, it becomes a collective wall of protection. Teach them how to discern the enemy's attacks, how to stand firm in my word, and how to maintain an atmosphere filled with life in the Spirit. When everyone in the newly claimed land knows how to stand on their own, the darkness will find it difficult to return. Secondly, establish a lasting system of spiritual discipline. The joy of harvest can easily lead to complacency. But I want you to remember that sustainable growth comes from the daily practice of dwelling in my presence. This means continuing to pray together, worship together, and study my word together, even when things feel settled. A community continually nourished in my presence becomes a fortress the darkness cannot breach. I also want you to place faithful leaders in key positions. A spiritual territory is only as strong as those who guard and guide it. Do not choose them merely for their skills, but for their faithfulness and obedience to me. I will show you whom you can trust to entrust with authority. Train them not only to serve, but to multiply leadership, so that as they lead, they are also preparing the next generation to take their place. The next step in strengthening the territory is to establish lasting spiritual supply lines. Just as a city needs a steady source of water and food, a spiritual community needs constant nourishment from my word and fellowship with me. Create stable channels for my word to flow through Bible study groups, prayer gatherings, and deep spiritual fellowship. When spiritual nourishment is abundant, there will be no foothold for spiritual drought or hunger. My child, I also want you to be vigilant against subtle compromise. After territory has been set free, the enemy may not always attack directly, but may try to infiltrate through gentler means, blended doctrines, loosened moral standards, or false teachings disguised under the banner of freedom. You and your leaders must discern with clarity and decisively remove every seed of compromise, for even the smallest opening can become the gateway for an entire army of darkness to return. Another important principle is to always expand the boundaries of influence. If you focus solely on maintaining the current territory without continuing to enlarge it, stagnation will set in, and stagnation is fertile ground for darkness to return. Expansion does not necessarily mean seizing new territory immediately. It can mean deepening your influence in every sphere of the community, family, education, economy, and the arts. When the kingdom of heaven takes deep root in every facet of life, that territory will be enduring and difficult to shake. My child, remember that consolidating territory also includes caring for each individual. The harvest often brings in many new people, and they must be nurtured, cared for, and protected until they are mature enough to stand on their own. Do not leave them forgotten after they have received the light. A soul that is carefully tended will become a mighty warrior, but a soul that is abandoned will easily become a target for the enemy. Finally, I want you to record and bear witness to what I have done. When the memories of victories are preserved, they become a lasting reminder to the next generation that I am faithful and powerful. Testimonies are also a tool to strengthen faith when new trials come. When my people hear again the stories of deliverance and restoration, they will have the courage to stand firm and continue expanding my kingdom. If you do all these things, the territory of my kingdom will not only stand firm in this generation, but will also be passed on to many generations to come. This is the legacy I want you to leave, not merely one recorded in human history, but one engraved in the spiritual memory of all heaven. Now that you have passed through the seasons, from sowing to battling to harvesting to consolidating, I want you to lift your eyes and see the glorious conclusion just ahead. Everything I have begun through you is not meant to be left unfinished, but to be brought to perfect completion. I am the beginning and the end. Every work I have undertaken will reach its fullness in my appointed time. And you, if you walk faithfully to the very end, will share in that completion. Your reward is not found only in what you will see in this life. Though I will allow you to witness tangible results on earth, transformed communities, saved lives, and territories liberated in the Spirit, these are but the first fruits of glory. Your full reward is in eternity, where every labor of yours will be remembered, and where you will hear these very words from my mouth: "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with little, I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your Lord." I know there are moments when you feel exhausted, days when you wonder whether the work you are doing truly makes a difference. But I want you to know not a single drop of your sweat is wasted. Not one of your prayers falls to the ground. Not a single step you take is forgotten. In heaven all is recorded, and on that day you will see that every small act, when done in love and obedience, has contributed to a plan far greater than you ever imagined. My child, when the work is complete, there will be a great celebration, unlike any that has ever been, when every tribe, every nation, and every tongue will worship me together. On that day you will see faces you have never met on earth, yet they will come to thank you, for through the seeds you sowed they received eternal life. Songs of praise will rise from the four corners of the earth, and you will realize that your sacrifices have become the reason for countless souls to be saved. But the reward is not only glory and joy, the reward is also the eternal closeness with me. My child, nothing can compare to dwelling forever in my presence, without hindrance, without darkness, without tears. Every limitation you have ever experienced on earth will be removed, and you will step into the fullness I have prepared for you since the very beginning. I call you not to stop when the work is nearly done. The enemy often strikes hardest just before the complete victory arrives, for he knows his time is short. Do not retreat. Do not let weariness or doubt slow you down. Pour every remaining ounce of strength into the final steps, like a runner pressing forward with their last breath to cross the finish line. For the reward is not only for those who start well, but for those who finish faithfully to the end. Remember my words in Revelation: "Behold, I am coming quickly, and my reward is with me, to give to each one according to what he has done." This word still resounds today, and it is the guarantee that every effort, every act of faithfulness, every sacrifice you have made will be repaid. I am not a God who forgets, and I never overlook the labor of those who love and serve me. On that day you will clearly see that every trial you endured was but light and momentary affliction compared to the eternal weight of glory that awaits you. And when you enter into everlasting joy, every pain, every wound, every loss will vanish like morning mist under the sunlight. You will be left with nothing but joy, peace, and unshakable love. Therefore, my child, in these final days, fix your eyes on the reward. Let the hope of eternal glory become the strength that upholds you whenever you grow weary. Let your love for me and for lost souls be the driving force that compels you to keep walking forward. And be assured that I, the one who began the good work in you, will bring it to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. My child, this is the final promise I want to leave with you in this message. If you remain faithful until the end, you will not only witness the completion of the work on earth, but you will also take part in a kingdom that cannot be shaken, a place where glory and joy never fade. And in that kingdom, you will be with me forever. If what you have heard touches your heart, click subscribe and turn on the notification bell to continue walking together in every step of faith, where God's word lights the path and His love leads the way each day. The Lord is with you. Amen.